Alright, this one. I think this one's pretty much ready. I just need to clean the glass. Do a test of this one. Seems to be pretty smooth on the back. All these other parts are polished up pretty well. You can see the detail. Hopefully it'll focus. Let's see. Give it a second. Maybe it will. Find the sweet spot. Camera. Oh, there. Ooh, for a second. For a second, I thought I had it. Oh, there it is. Oh, it wants to focus. There you go. So touchy. Just giving it a little bit of a final. Right there where I added a little extra to keep it together. Alright, that one's probably ready for the glass to get cleaned. This one I put oil paste on so I could bind it to the already fired metal. And I did some filling here. Could do a little bit of sanding. This is like my tester, so it's a little beat up. It's undergone all my different ideas. It's still alive though. It started out being broken when I first did it. It didn't come out of the texture quite right, and I put it back together. And I was just trying to see how well it would go back together, and actually it went back together really well. Then I was trying all kinds of other stuff on it. Before I tried it on something else, it's like, oh, you know what? I have this wings here. I could try that on. I get these ideas about what I can do. So you want it to have a good, so it looks pretty messy, but you want it to have a connection between the already fired part and the new clay. So a physical connection as well as like a bonding. I don't think it's gonna focus, but you can kind of see it. So I'm not gonna file it down too much because I want it to still have that physical connection. And I'm gonna grab a diamond foil. Get in this nook and cranny here. Just like a little piece sticking up. There you go. That one too. It's like you want to run your finger across it, but it's not always possible to get it in the right spot. So I just want anything too sharp or pokey. Again, I can always do some of this stuff after firing too, but it's just better to do it in the greenware stage if you can. Let's see here. Do a little bit of sanding. Now this is a test for 1 card thick bezel. Just quite a bit thinner than some of the ones I've been using for glass. However, to mount something after firing, and most bezel wire is very thin in traditional silversmithing. But I was like using the three cards thick because it stood up nice on its own when I was wrapping it around glass. And also, like if you're putting it on a ring or something, it's like nice to have a little more thickness to get it beat up a little bit more without having any concern. But I'm not sure if it's necessary to be that thick. It's just what I was doing. So for this one, we're going to try and do this thinner one. So we've added the fresh clay to already fired clay. And the idea is it's not going to shrink as much because basically you're kind of guesstimating how it's going to shrink based on the shape of it, thickness, and stuff like that. So when it actually fires, the shape of the thing that's holding your glass can change. Like I did one like this before with an oval and it shrunk more from side to side than top bottom. It still worked okay, but again, it was too thick, so it was a real pain to get the bezel to bend over it. So I am trying, I looked a little more closely into it, and the thinner one's probably the way to go. I could fill this, like if I was making this for someone, I would probably do a little extra fill here. But again, this is my tester, so the point is to see if it'll work. So I'm just gonna file this part down a little bit. So it looks okay anyway, actually. But I'd futz around with it more if it was for someone else and was not just a tester. Actually, I nicked that a little bit, didn't I? Ooh, okay. We might just touch that up a little bit. I know I said it didn't have to be perfect, but then perfectionism always jumps in, doesn't it? I see this little tiny, tiny spot where I think I hit it. So I'm gonna plop a little bit of this in here. Then maybe a touch more from the back. Because it's such a little amount, I'm not gonna have to wait forever for it to dry, but I'd like to get these in the kiln tonight. It's working a little bit. It wants to kind of, when it dries, it'll kind of suck back in, so we'll let it dry. Okay. So these two are pretty much ready. Now, which blue glass was I using? It's one of these two. And one of them I was using for the other one. I'm pretty sure it was this one. Okay. Made a whole batch of these guys so I could pick and choose from them. Right, I'm going to wipe off any clay. It fell out because there's extra space you leave in. You want like a millimeter around it because it's going to shrink. Around 15%-ish. And these are not like perfectly cylinder, so you're going to have to see how it went in there. There we go. All right. So that's what it's going to look like. Focus doesn't want to happen, does it? Well. I'm sure what the trick was. Do you do this or something? Make it like refresh? I don't know. Anyways, you can kind of see it. Kind of a sky blue with kind of clouds looking. Blue and white situation. And then we've got the flowers, basically spring flowers pendant. Kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what that one looks like when it gets done. It's an idea I had when the roses were blooming. Oh my gosh, my tag's actually finally updated. Why does it take forever? I don't understand. One day I will, maybe. Maybe not. Okay. Okay, so those are those two, and those are pretty much ready. I just kind of have to wait maybe a minute or something for this one, but so we'll put these back. Actually, you probably could put them here so you can still see them. Why not? Alright, so I can get rid of some of these sanding items. We try to clean up between each stage, right? That's the idea. In theory. Does it always happen? No? Alright. Okay, that's the sanding. So, the other thing I'm working on is these wings, which I drew out in a bigger size and then I shrank them down a little bit. And let's see here. So these are the fairy wings working on. And I'm looking to put, like, I don't know, probably an oval shape in the middle. I was looking at rose quartz. So if you imagine them, be something like this. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. Note to self, these are slippery. But you get the picture. There's also, I started messing around and putting like a little more detail in it. So I don't know. I don't just know if that's too busy though. Might be a little busy. So part of it is I'm going to be doing this by hand the first time, but I can also make like a photopolymer plate of it. Which I might do both of them, maybe. I don't know. If a design turns out well, so I can just make it a little bit more easy to repeat, right? So for this one, if I'm doing it just completely by hand, my next step is going to be to cut it out and then put it kind of inverse on a index card so I can kind of use it as a template to cut around because I find it's just a little easier to do. That way I could do a texture as well. It would work with a texture because there's a lot of open space. I could do a texture kind of like this one, which is a very fine kind of pattern. Can't just thinking of focus. And that could work in those spaces. Okay, let's see. Like if you imagine that tiny pattern in there, and then you have like the bigger lines for the wing itself. Like something that could work. Is that going to be what I want to do, or do I want it to be like smooth? Is the question. I kind of see it either way. There's still quite a bit of detail in the sense of like each line, but I don't know. I kind of like this too, or even if I used a pattern on some of it. But I think the next step is going to be, so the next step is going to be using tracing paper. After hydrate. Wait, tracing paper, I think I have, do I have a sheet of that out? No. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. So let's do this. Cut this down a little bit so it's more manageable. We'll use our nifty. You can see the tape covers on here before because I did one side and then I like copied it for the other side, so I didn't have to like make the mirror image, right? So just a little bit easier to do. I think that'll work okay. All right, magic blue tape. It always helps. Helps with a lot of things, actually. I put it over stones and glass when I'm sanding and finishing and stuff too, even. But when you're creating a design and you're using tracing paper and stuff, it always kind of helps to anchor it. Otherwise, it's running all over the place. Oh, I missed one. Gotta put this away before it goes missing, which it will. They're small. Everything's very small in some of the things I work with, right? It starts like when you're working with jewelry, everything's like teeny tiny. All right, put the scissors back. Okay, now this part I need my pencil and my eraser. In fact, probably I'm gonna go ahead and fold this back. I don't need to cut it, but I can fold it. It's just a little more manageable to deal with. Now this is where I like need to get up close to it. So probably like, zooming in on my head, but actually I'm gonna fold it this way too. Try to work smarter, right? I'm just going to trace it. And I'm going to use this for an outline for index cards, so cutting out clay. And it doesn't have to be exact, because we're going to end up sanding it and stuff too. But I am going to do a decent job of outlining it. And I think for this design, I'm going to leave the space in between it too. I was almost considering making it a little bit wider, however, that looks pretty good. But I do have to think about shrinkage. And not the kind from cold pools, as someone would say. If I increase the distance here a little bit more, it would still be okay. But do I need to? I also want the lines to look good too. So if it's too far away, it starts looking a little weird based on the height of the design, right? So I don't know, I kind of like where it's at. Let's try it. Now I'm wishing I would have sharpened my pencil before I started this probably. These are basically fairy wings kind of concept. Okay, so that's kind of the concept here. And then let's just see how far it needs to be up and down. Like I want to put a base on this because if I'm going to add it later. I don't want the oval part that's holding it just be floating out there like I did with this one. It's floating out there a little bit, not too bad. I don't know if you can see it. It's not hanging out too far, so it's be okay. But like, I don't want it to, because then you're gonna have different kinds of when it shrinks. It's gonna shrink differently. So I'm going to give myself an indicator here. Of something for it to be close to. Because I'm going to fire that separately and then set, if we're going to use a real stone, we got to set it separately. If we are using a glass, which is also real, right? It's just silica, but it's just a different kind of thing where you can determine the colors. Whereas this one, Mother Nature determines it. Unless you have it colored afterwards with heat treatment or something. But most of the stones I do, I don't really like too much of that because it looks just, I don't know. I like it natural, I guess, is the point. When it comes to an actual stone, it's a preference. There's a lot of cool colors, though. All right, so this will be the general idea. So that I'm going to basically take it to the next step, which is going to be moving this to an index card. Then I'm going to cut it out with my baby scissors. The only scissors I have that would like have small blades on them that are more maneuverable to little tiny places, or like for kids, so that's pretty funny. All right, what do I do with my index cards? Here they are. Okay. It doesn't have to be all the way. Honestly, we're gonna have to move these anyway, so we'll just peel this off nicely. Okay, now we can trim this up a little bit. Actually, we can get the baby scissors out now. It's cool that it finally made it to the right category, though. I just don't quite understand why it takes us so long. It's weird that I had to go into the actual, like, edit the layout of the stuff to, like, change it. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You think you could just change what's in it. Like, how do people do it on the fly all the time? I remember before it would, like, it would delay. It would take a while to do it. But I don't remember being so annoying. Oh, well. All right, so we just trimmed this down a little bit. Make it a little smaller. And... okay. Now we're going to paste it back on here. I might use the lines just for a little bit of guidance. It sometimes helps to be able to see if it's lined up like evenly if you have lines. To work with, so that looks pretty decent. All right, let's tape that down. This one I need to make smaller. I should probably make this one smaller too, but actually I'll use the other half of this one. There we go. Hang on to the tape because we're always using it. Okay, so I'm going to come in from the side. It doesn't have to be like, kind of it's better to be coming in at an angle a little bit, so that's what I've noticed. This is where cutting skills come in handy from kindergarten. But I might have to look to see if there's another kind of one with small blade, because the bigger blades are just too hard to maneuver, to be honest. I might just go a little wide here, because I like it when it comes out a little bit more. I guess I didn't do it on that side, did I? Okay, well, that's fine. And then I might just give it a little bit of extra space. Because essentially we're using this to guide it, but like at the same time, we can always sand things down too. This doesn't have to be exact, and it's better to give ourselves a little extra. But not enough. So I'm just going to kind of go through with these really tiny ones. I think I'm just going to do like the shape itself. Or am I? Decision time. Yeah, I think I am, because it's like we can decide on that notch individually. And we'll just kind of go around this part here. Just so we have enough material, but okay. Finger stuck. Okay, so I did a little bit different on one side. But this is kind of what it looks like. I think that's gonna work. I don't know if I'm gonna regret not having gone into those little spots. But it's still pretty hard to do even with that little scissors, so. We take this off carefully. Then we'll tape this together, and we're essentially making it as a cutout. We don't really need this part anymore, but we can hang on to the tape. right, so then we're going to seal back this part that we had from the edge. I'm going to do the other side. Okay. So that gives us kind of a rough. Now, if there's like a little spot in there that where it sort of went past, I'm going to tape those parts too, just to kind of hold it together better. Like on the ends and the corners, mostly. Just take a look here, because I'm going to run around this with a needle tool, basically, and then if it's going to get stuck, that's where I don't want it to get all crazy. 1/2's pretty good. It's pretty sharp, so it's pretty alright, but not that I'm too excited about needles. That's kind of, yeah. I've only stabbed myself with it once, though, so far. It's like if I stab myself with it, it's one thing. It's another thing when they're put into my arm, like, intentionally. Okay, so now we've got our edges taped up. Exciting stuff. Then I have the moment of truth, which is, do I want to use a texture or do I want to do it smooth for the first one? Kind of feel like maybe it's smooth. And get the lines down. I don't know. So then part of me goes back to this one, which I could do more easily with getting more detail in there too, if I'm doing it by hand. Or I could do part of that. Like some of those details, or not all of them, leave some of them clean. So if I do this one, okay, so let's just kind of pretend here. So if you had a wing like this, I mean, you could still do lines through it. You could still carve lines through it. Does that work though? I don't know. I don't want it to take away from like the pattern I'm doing as well though. Since this is like a brand new design concept, let's just go with smooth for now. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to bringing this part back. And we're going to actually work with some fresh clay. It's very exciting. What am I doing? I'm doing PMC3. Actually, before I do that, this is what you always need to do is have your stuff out. It's pretty decent as far as drying out, but I do have a fan on myself because it's hot in here. Let's get my needle tool out, and what else do I need? I think that's actually all I need from that right now. So that, and then how thick are we gonna go? So we're not doing a texture, so we don't have to worry about that. We are carving though. So let's do 4. Four cards thick for that. So we get out our roller. Then I'm going to get out some slick for the hands. Actually, before I do that, I am going to wipe this down a little bit more too, because it looks like there's some sanding dust on here, and I just don't want that getting in the way. All right, put a little of this on the hands. Actually, it's starting to melt, so it's got a little bit more than I wanted. All right, but it's good for your hands, so just go ahead and rub it in. Then I would rub it on this too. I love my purple. It's like a cool color that came out of it. I had to get a new one just for that. Okay, this is my needle tool. It's like super sharp. It's good because you don't want it dragging the clay. All right, and then I'm gonna use lubricant on the corner. Cool slip. And because I'm gonna put some of that on there in a minute, but I'm gonna have everything ready before I do this. So now this is kind of neat because I can use this as a, usually had to use like one of these little things before to do it, but now I can actually use it on this thing. I probably will do it anyway, just so it doesn't stick, but it's kind of nice to have. I'm going to use this part of it. I'm going to put this away a little bit out of the way. Roll it. Just like it, make it nice for a minute. So now we need it to get as big as what we need it to roll. I think this is enough clay. We shall find out. I might need to put the other stuff in there too to begin with, if it doesn't get big enough. I like to squish it down first to have like a general size. Yeah, I think we might need to use more clay to start. Oh, stretch more that way. Let's do this a couple more times because I think I hit the needle tool the first time. Okay, it starts sticking on here, which is not a big deal. Let's test it. And we're gonna use something for it to climb on. Here. Oh, we're just a little too small. Okay. I wonder. What if we were to roll it like this? Oh, actually, why am I doing it with? Okay. I have to take it off here first because it's not going to roll properly. It adds that thickness that we're not. It's like one more card, basically. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. I think I said, or was it like this? I'm trying to remember the width of it that I was trying to do. See if I could stretch it anymore that way, but I don't think it's going to. All right. We probably need to, yeah, we're just gonna need to break down and put the other clay together with it. It was worth a shot. Try to have like the similar aged ones together because I've been using them in different ways. But that's okay. We will combine them. I'm just gonna mush them together real good so there's like no air pockets or anything in there. And this is where you can start flipping it around and you don't want to end it up on the floor. All right. I think that's pretty decent. Okay. Well, let's try this again. You like to do one big smooth movement. Oh, it's really stretching. Oh, no. It's further than I wanted it to go. I can just wipe it off. It's not a problem. Keep it nice and moist there. All right. Let's try it the other way. Okay. What do I feel like it's... Okay, that's probably good. Then we're gonna put it on a backing because we're gonna use a scratchy thing on it. We don't want to mess up our main surface. Okay. Now this is why I do inverse, because I want to be able to put some pressure on it. Especially if you have a texture. Try to do straight up and down so you don't get like too much angle. That's interesting. Cat's coming in to say hi. I'm in his chair, technically. Okay, I think... I don't know, did I clip that or something? I'm not sure how that happened. It's interesting, though. It's actually kind of where we want it, though. Not too bad. I think it's feasible. Okay, so in this one we'll just let that dry. You just have to be careful that it doesn't start puffing up, because if you put too much heat on it, it'll start doing that. Okay, well, that is the first step we're taking on fairy wings. And I think this is where I am going to sign off. And I'm going to put these other items into the kiln. The cross, the spring flowers, and my tester angel wings. Okay, well, we got some stuff tested out, and trying this new setup. I think it works okay. Just have to figure out the audio stuff. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.